Welcome back. Just before we get started on what we're going to do today, I wanted to throw a friendly reminder out there. So we're the middle of March now. It's I think the 16th, 17th, something like that. If you haven't already, and you are planning on having bees this year, you really need to get your bees secured, especially if you're up here in Alberta. Talking to some of the local suppliers, they're running out of bees really fast. What packages or nukes, these stores and suppliers are bringing in are pretty much already gone. So it's getting harder and harder to find your bees out there. So if you're planning on having bees and following along with me this year, make sure you get your bees on order, get them secured, get the deposit on, get them paid for, talk to the suppliers. So now having said that, today what we're going to do is we're going to finish our hive off. Really all we have left to do is the inner cover, the inner cover and the top cover. That's pretty much it. Then our hive here is ready to accept our bee package when we get it. Once again, we're in the middle of March. Most of those bee packages you'll be coming will be usually end of April to the middle of May, sometimes as late as June, but by then you really don't get a whole bunch out of them up here. So anyways, hopefully that's all going. So let's get started on the last two pieces for our hive. All right, so for our inner cover, we're going to be making two different covers today. As you know, I use hive heaters on my hives, which have absolutely, I think, secured my bees over the winter. If you watched one of the earlier videos on my hive checkup, I opened them up. I had two that were absolutely wall-to-wall bees. If it ever warms up above zero out there, I plan on getting out there. I'll probably steal some brood from one of the strong hives, give it to one of the weaker ones, and kind of do the same thing with the other one. But unbelievable how my bees made it through the winter this year. So that's with the hive heaters, but two different types. So there's your standard top board or inner cover. It's solid all the way around, and I put a little bit of a bigger hole in the center of it. So the reason I do this is for two reasons. We kind of have to think how we want to build these inner covers. And of course, I use my feeding buckets and stuff on top of them. So what I'll do is I'll put this on the hive. I'll put my feeding jar in, and I like them a little bit snug so they sit all the way down in there. Then I'll put another box on top, and then I can put my top cover on top of it. So it keeps the sugar water, or the syrup and stuff like that out of the sun. With the hive heaters, I'll get to that one, how that one works, but it'll actually keep the bucket warm. So I make a little bit of a larger hole. I like my feeder jars to fit right down in there, nice and snug. So you see they can't actually fall out. But that way the bees can get at the bottom of them too. So it kind of sits almost level down in the bottom. So that's one thing we have to stop and think about. The other thing we have to think about, and we haven't talked about yet, is what they call bee space. So on all of our entry on our hives, we always make the hive entrance and stuff like this 3/8 of an inch. So 3/8 of an inch is pretty much what you need for a bee space. So I've made this one, so I have 3/8 of an inch both on the top and the bottom. And the reason I did that is I also made it with a top entrance. So I can actually flip this cover over, put it on, still feed them, and then have an entrance both at the top and the bottom so that the bees can come and go. Some people like it. Some people think it's easier for the bees to get in there to deposit the honey. It's also easier to get in there and rob the honey if you have a stronger hive next door. But I sometimes use them if I have a really, really strong hive. If I don't have a strong hive, I'll just leave the bottom entrance open. So I make mine so that you can do both. So you can kind of clean it all up. And I have a bee space of 3/8 of an inch, both the top and the bottom. So that's a standard one. Of course, with my hive heaters, I want the heat to go all the way up to my control box. So what I've done here is I don't have multiple jars. I could have just as easily put 4 or 5 jars on there. It's just, why fill all the jars? Here's where I'll use the buckets. And as you can see, I didn't put the hole right underneath the hole of the bucket. And the reason being is occasionally I have a little bit leak out. So if it leaks out here now, the bees can clean it up off the board. In fact, this is one that's been used quite a bit. And as you can see, they've kept it cleaned right up. I have a little bit of propolis there, but that's pretty much it. So I more or less took the bucket, I traced around the bucket where it was going to fit. And if you take a look from this other side, let me see if I can do this here, I can show you. It really doesn't drip down at all. So if it was to drip, it's going to drip on the board and not down into the hive on top of the brood and everything. And of course, we have 3/8 of an inch on this bucket, so that gives us a bee space between the top and the pail of 3/8 of an inch. And I found with the 4 holes, we can get more bees up in here feeding. They can empty the bucket just a little bit quicker than the single hole. It just gives them more places to come up and back and down. And then of course on the side, I got the screen in there, and that's so that once again the heat can kind of come up. Now here's one of the good things with this, is if you were to put your bucket on here, and then you put another super on top of it in your top board with the hive heater on it, the hive heater will keep the bucket warm. So out there today where it's at 0 degrees, if I could get into the hives, I could actually put this on here at 0 or close to freezing temperatures. And the hive heater not only would keep the hive warm, but it would keep my bucket warm and gives those bees an extra boost when you don't have to worry about your sugar syrup and stuff like that freezing. So kind of a good side effect is that one as well. Now these ones I don't make with a bee space on the bottom, or I should say on the top. So it's flush on the top, but I do have my 3/8 of an inch bee space on the bottom. So that way on top of the hive, the bees can still move around and they can still get in, they still have that bee space and everything there. So we're going to be making one of each for this new hive, and let's get started. So let's start with the original one. So they're all going to be kind of made the same way. So they're, once again, I used 1x4 pine, so I'm already 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to start with a piece 3/4 by 3/4. We'll get those ripped out, and then what we're going to do is we're going to cut into it a place for, maybe I should make them all like this, and then I can only do them once. Let's do that. So I'll cut them all like this, and then I'm going to cut them out so that they'll accept the board on the top. I just won't have a bee space on the top of this one, but like I said, I really don't use them, and I do have a whole bunch of these ones, so let's get started with that. I'll go rip some boards. Okay, we got those ripped here now, so I'll bring these up here so you can kind of see what I did. I took them all, and I just 3/4 by 3/4, and then I ripped out, because I'm going to use 3/8 plywood, so I just dovetailed out 3/8 of an inch in and 3/8 of an inch out. And then on the end ones, I did them the other way as well. So now this is going to fit right together like this, and my plywood will sit right down inside of it. All right? Let's see what we're going to need for a piece of plywood here now. Now, you have to make these to fit your box. So I did take some measurements, and I should have showed that on the camera, but I didn't. But basically what I did is I made them 16.5. Ooh. By 20.25, and of course that's what our boxes are. So 16.5 by 20. So I'm actually going to take a 1/4 inch off of these to make them exactly fit our box. So we'll have 16.5 by 20. All right, we got that done. Now let's put this together really quickly, and then we can cut our plywood. As you know, I like my corner clamps and my brad nailer. We don't need 2-inch nails in this one though. Let me find some of those. And some glue. And of course, always get proper training and read the manufacturer's instructions anytime you're using the saws or tools or anything like that. So, safety first, right? Now what I also did is I marked all the outside when I was ripping these, just with a little mark, so I knew exactly what side was in and what side was out. Let's put these together. And then there was one. Now, I should have also mentioned, you can buy these. They work just as well. When we get to the top cover, you might want to buy those. And the only reason being is I like the metal cover. I've tried a couple different types. I am working on a peaked one that will stay waterproof, but I really do like the metal on top of them. So unless you have access to a sheet metal shop or somebody who does some tin work and stuff like that, or if you want to shingle them, I guess. I never thought of that. Maybe I should look at shingling them. But they do take a little bit, and you do want to try and keep them watertight, or at least keep the water out of the hive. There's the frame. While this is drying, we'll go cut some plywood. And once again, this is just how I make mine. You can make them however you want. All we really got to do is put something on top of the hive. I've actually seen just a piece of plywood cut to go on top of the hive too. That works as well. Once again, I just make mine this way, especially when it comes to the screen board. That way my hive heaters work really well. All right, so the way I have this mitered out, I need a piece 19 1/8 by 15 5/8. I'll go cut that. Here we go. And once again, while this is drying, what I want to do is I want to find the center. So once again, I could put 2 holes in here and use 2 jars, 1 hole and use a single jar. These are 10 frame hives. So I could do the same thing. I could actually put all 5 on here, or all 4 on here, and use a bucket on this one as well. But I'm just going to do the single jar on this one. And you could pretty much put it anywhere. This one's not long enough. I just like it in the center. It's usually right over top of the brood. I mean, the queen will usually try to lay at the center of the hive first. It's just easier for the hive to regulate the temperature and keep it farthest away from predators. All right, I'll grab a drill bit and we will drill that through. Maybe I should get a board to drill that through onto it. Huh. That should work. No, get a board. Better safe than sorry. Just like that. And our jar fits just straight down inside. All right. Looks like I might be just a hair too big. Just gotta take a hair off this. Like a glove. All right, this should be dry by now. Now, I used good one-side plywood. I'm going to put that down to the bees. Fits quite well. Let's glue it and nail it in. Like I said, good side to the bees. We'll just clamp it in a couple places. Make sure it doesn't move while we're nailing it in place. And of course, these don't have to be very tight because of that. To the other side. And then down the edge. Last side. And there is our inner cover. Oop, I got one nail that popped up through. Just below the surface, I can see it, so I'm just going to get rid of it. As you can see, fits like a glove. I'll hit this up with a sander and get it all really good, but that's our top cover. or pardon me, our inner board. Now we just have our top covers. So our top covers, I make them a little bit different as well. This is the one that I said you can buy. So if you buy them, they're usually quite a bit bigger. Let me clean this up. I'll grab a box and I'll show you. All right, so here's one of my boxes. I like my top covers, so when they go on fairly snug. I don't like them to have lots of room to flop and move around. Some people tell me it's good, some people tell me it's bad. Once again, this is just the way I like to do them. So you can see there's not a whole lot of gap all the way around that box. You know, it fits pretty tight all the way around. This does a couple things for me. See, I can always bring it off, but it seems to stop the wind from blowing them off a whole lot easier, and just seems to leave less room for the bees to try and get up in underneath. Now, if you were going to use an upper entrance, this is where my covers don't work so well, and you might want to go with a bigger one. By putting this on, there's nowhere for the bees to get in, right? If this cover was bigger and you could push this forward, it would still give them a place to get up and under and then get in. Pros and cons, I have some of each. I'm going to be making the box for this hive a little bit smaller, just like this. Partly because it's probably going to be for a new nuke or a younger hive. You can always buy another top cover, but it just helps them get established up to this point. So today, I'm going to be making one a little bit smaller. All right, we know the inside measurements now because this is where it's going to go. So I'm going to make it 1/2 inch bigger than my hive. So we did measure the box, we know it was 20. So I want it inside by 20 and a half. I think I said by 16, right? 16 and a half. So 20 and a half by 17 is going to be our inside measurements when we're done. Let me go rip some boards. These are going to be 2 and a half, and if I remember right, the last one I made it out of a 1x6, which gave me 2 5/8, and then I had to rip the board once with the width of my saw blade. So I'll go cut it 2 5/8 wide, and inside measurements 17 inches wide, 20 and a half inches long. I'll be right back. Here we are. So when I dadoed it out on the end, once again, so that they'll fit together really nice, I just like to do this. It gets rid of the open exposed cells, and I find that the hives don't rot out as quickly. Not to mention it gives it a nice, stronger box corner or box joint there as well. So my overall measurements, so of course 1x6. So I ended up with 21 and a half and 18 and a half. So we can go ahead and put these together. I always like to rough fit just to make sure that everything works before I get it put together. That gave our inside measurements 17 by 20 and a half. Exactly what we wanted. I'll grab my clamps. We can nail this one together too. Not too much, not too little, just kind of a nice squeeze out of glue. if you can see that. Excellent. All right, I was going to clamp it, but I'm going to cut the piece of plywood right away, which is going to be square because I'm cutting it on the table saw. And then I do it a little bit different as well. So I use 3/4 inch plywood on the top. It makes my top boards a little bit heavier, once again a little bit harder for the wind to blow off. I do still put a brick on top of them, but it also gives me that insulation value. So 3/4 of an inch versus 3/8 or 1/2 inch just gives me that little bit extra for insulation value on top of it. So I'll go cut my plywood now, outside to outside, so 18.5 by 22. Here we go. So there's a good, once again, I used good one side. So I'm going to put the good side down because the top, this is where I was saying, I don't have one right now, and I will try to show you that. But I go to a sheet metal shop in town, I'll give them the dimensions and they'll actually fold it up for me like this, and then I can easily just nail it back down. So in the meantime, I can glue this, get this nailed into place, and that pretty much is going to take care of our top board. Let me get the clamp out of the way. And let's get this glued up. Sorry about the compressor. Figured I'd just wait till the compressor was done. I also like to knock, as you know, knock all the slivers and the edges off before I put it all together. And I'm going to tack this in a couple places here because I'm probably going to have to move this to make sure it stays square now. So we'll do the one corner. Now we'll make the other corner match up. And I didn't get it. It's a good thing about brad nails. As long as you take the time to get it before things dry up. There we go. Everything now looks nice and square. We can nail it in place. There we have our top cover. So if you are going to go to a sheet metal store, get them to do this. So we're exactly 18.5. I would always have them make it a little bit bigger. Depends on how they make the radius of their bend. So I'm going to be asking them to make this 18 5/8 by 22, so that gives me an 1/8 of an inch bigger each way. And on the side, you want it to make sure it comes down past the plywood, so you want to cover that edge up. So I'm going to have it come down 1.25 inches, maybe even 1.5 inches, and that way that covers it all up. Before I put the metal on the top though, I'll go ahead and sand this all up and I will stain it up. This one's not going to get stained up for a few reasons, still yet to come. But you'll be able to see this. So maybe I'll just put a couple of tacks in it, and then when we do go to finish this, then we could do it then. But there's our top cover. Let's bring the Hive back and let's put it all together. All right. What a great build. I hope you built one along with me. This was a lot of fun. We started with our base. So that was one of the first videos we did. Maybe actually I think it was the third video. So, but we have our base. Of course, then we built our bottom board with our landing board, our pull-out bottom there so we could check for mites. It's got the nice tab and everything all on it. And of course, we have our different entrances for whatever we're doing with our hive. Let's just leave this one on for now. Works good for the video. Our base, our bottom board. Of course, then we built our brood chamber. And inside our brood chamber, we built our frames and we put our foundation in there. Once again, black for in our brood chamber. It's just easier to see the eggs and the larvae. We have 10 of these in here. I took the foundation out of this one just for the video purposes. I'll throw it back in. Our queen excluder. Keep the queen down on the bottom box. Our honey super, once again, we built the medium frames and we put the yellow foundation on the top. I just removed this for the video purposes again. There's 10 of those in there. Then today we built our inner cover and our top cover. Ties everything all together. I will put the metal on here. I will throw some pictures of that up when we're done. There's our hive, ready for our bees. So once again, please make sure if you're following along. If you have any questions, let me know. But make sure you get your bees ordered up. And if you have any questions, put them down below. I try to get back to all the questions as quick as I can. Sometimes it takes me a day or two, but usually not too long. And if you like these videos, please hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you like them. And don't forget to ring that bell. You'll get notifications of the next video that comes up. So we're ready. The next video probably going to be a little bit of out in the yard when the snow melts here a little bit more. Hopefully I can start that next week. But we're going to select a location to put your hives. You know, I'll go through some of the things that you want to take a look at there as well. So until next time, take care and enjoy.